Shalom, family. And welcome to another new moon, new month. You know, a lot of times, y'all will put things on me to deal with in class, and myself and a couple of brothers were sitting around talking about this situation here, and this is the only thing that kept coming to me, and nothing else, so I figured, okay, at this point, this is what he wants me to deal with. Tonight's class is marriage, the husband, the wife. We hear people say that they're ready to get married, but rarely do we hear people say that they are ready to be a husband or a wife. There's more to being a husband and a wife than there is to just being married. Most times when people say that they are ready to get married, what they are saying is, I'm ready to settle down, meaning they're ready to stop running the streets and be in a relationship, but still have no clue of the role each one is supposed to play. In this day and age, we got to deal with this same-sex marriage thing that has been made lawful. But as we go through certain things and definitions, we'll see what a husband is, what a wife is. It doesn't matter what you want to identify yourself as. Because in these relationships, same sex, one of them wants to identify as being the husband, and one of them wants to identify as being the wife, which cannot happen. You are what you are as far as what you were born as. That genetic makeup is what makes you either husband or wife. I don't care what you want to identify yourself as. I don't care what role play you all want to play in your home. But your genetic makeup puts you on the side of being a husband or being the wife. Not what you want to say, what you want to identify as. My brother, can you read the definition for married for me, please?
Married, H1167. Ball, from H1166, a master, hence a husband.
See, that alone in today's society causes problem. For somebody to say the husband is the master. We can read where Sarah called Abraham master. You tell two people that's about to get married and say, your husband is your master. Master over who? Master over what? That already has a problem in this day and age, not understanding the role. And then you have men who are in a marriage who don't want to step up to the role as being a master. It just means that you're supposed to be in control. Go ahead.
You know, priest, that I think that's a part of our curses right there. You know, because of the way the master, quote unquote, the people of other nations ruled over us, when that word is used, it's usually used in a
derogatory term.
way.
Right. We look at it as being a bad word.
Yeah, so it's defined in a different manner. So then nobody wants to use that in the correct context in which one is referring to.
But let's get deeper into the meaning.
Hence a husband, or figuratively owner, often used with another noun in modification of this latter sense.
So now it says owner. Own who? Own what? But if we go into the scriptures and see how things were done, there was a bride price paid. Now we live in a society once again where it's upside down. It's the bride's father who's paying for everything. It's the groom's father who is supposed to be shelling out money. So then that makes a price that was paid for this bride. Even us as the children of Israel, Yahweh said you were bought with a price. So a price was paid for us. Go ahead.
Archer, babbler, bird, captain, chief man, confederate, have to do, dreamer, those to whom it is due.
Now that part is interesting. Those to whom it is due. So it ain't due to everybody to be married. Even Saul said, I wish y'all could be like me. But if you can't, go ahead and get married. Those to whom it is due. Go ahead.
Furious, those that are given to it.
Those that are given to it. That simply means everybody is not built or made to be married. But if we watch society and listen to society, everybody's running off because this is what society says. How do you not look at yourself and say, you know what? Sad to say, I'm not married material. That doesn't work for me. But people will push that envelope and then get into something and then ruin somebody else's life. Go ahead.
He that has it, have, horseman, husband, lord man, married, master, person, sworn thereof.
All right, my brother. Now can you give me the definition for marriage? So we just read the definition for married. Now let's look at marriage.
Marriage, H2859. Kathon, a primitive root to give a daughter away in marriage.
So now the marriage, you give a daughter away in marriage, okay? So she's been given away. Does that not make the person who she's given to the master, the owner? If I give you something, you now own it. It now belongs to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, brother, when you say...
But see, that's where we got to get over our own thought processes.
But when you say things like that, and then when men actually do things in a derogatory way, it makes it all bad.
But what it says, to those to whom it is due.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That means you need to know how to deal with the situation righteously.
Right.
We've been brought up in an unrighteous society, so we see these things, we hear these words, and we automatically look at it as being bad. Back to what I said. Yahweh said we were bought with a price. He owns us. Go ahead.
Hence, generally, to contact affinity by marriage, join in affinity, father-in-law, make marriages, mother-in-law, son-in-law. Join.
Go ahead. No, join in affinity. Affinity per the Britannica, a feeling of closeness and understanding that someone has for another because of their similar qualities, ideas, or interests. Nowadays, marriages, nobody stops and look at those things. Nobody takes into consideration our similar qualities, similar ideas, similar interests. Now, when we go back and we look in situations like Abraham finding a son, a wife for his son, go back to these people. Why? Because there's similarity in the way that they were raised. Jacob did the same thing. Esaac did the same thing. Go back to these people. There's similarities in the way we were raised. There's a similarity in the upbringing. We don't take any of that into consideration. I like him. I like her. 3 years down the line, it's chaos. Why? Well, what they say, we have nothing in common. You didn't stop to look at that while you're having Google eyes at each other. And then not only that, you have culture differences. Give me the next definition for marriage, please, my brother.
Marriage, from G1061. Gamsiko, to espouse a daughter to a husband, give in marriage.
How can you give a daughter to a husband if we're taught that after the marriage is when the title husband is given? It says to give a daughter to a husband. So how's he a husband already and they ain't married? You just giving him this young lady, but he's already considered a husband. There's things that we have to look at. There's things that we have to start conditioning our minds for as we move forward in this journey. We have let society plague us on how we look at things, just like Priest Mikael is talking about. When I say certain things, I'm sure there's somebody watching right now that's jumping off the sofa. How he gonna say you master over me? That's because of how society has taught us to look at that word. Sarah didn't see any way of it when she addressed him as master. And I'm sure he wasn't gloating back there. That's right, master. No. It's just like saying mister. But we've allowed society to plague us with words. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 15. Genesis chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 15 through 25.
And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may eat freely.
So the first thing Yahweh did was took the man, put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. He's got responsibility. Go ahead.
But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof you shall surely die. And Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him.
Yahweh said it wasn't good for the man to be alone. Nowhere here can we read where Adam was complaining about being alone. If somebody find it, please let me know, but I don't read anywhere where Adam was complaining about being alone. Yahweh looked down and said, it's not good for the man to be alone. Read.
And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof.
So he's bringing work to Adam. This is work being brought to him. But when he said it's not good for the man to be alone, he said, I will make him a help meet for him. Somebody to help him with his duties. Go ahead.
Verse 20. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up his flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from man made he a woman, and he brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man.
So Adam said she would be called woman. Now, if you have a Bible with the Apocrypha in it, and you look up that word, it says wife. The definition for that word is wife. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, and man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
Verse 15, Adam was a husbandman. Can we hear the word husband in that? Husbandman, first, a farmer. Husbandman from H5647, abad, a primitive root to work in any sense, by implication to serve, till, causatively enslave, etc. B, keep in bondage, be bondmen, bond service, compelled, do, dress, heir, execute, husbandman, keep, labor, laboring man, bring to pass, cause to, make to, serve, serving, self. B, become, servant, do, use, service, till, tiller. That was his first thing. He was already a husband. Man. What did it say? You bring a daughter to a husbandman. To a husband. How many people actually stop before they give their daughter away to see if they're giving their daughter to a husband? You got a job? You got responsibilities? Do you know your role? At least I put my daughter in a situation that is going to be vexation of spirit for both of you. And let's not take for granted that while Adam is taking care of the garden and looking at the animals, I'm sure he realizes that they all have helpmeets. But we didn't hear him complain or murmur. A man, not a boy, a woman, not a girl, when it's speaking of husband and wife. It said woman, it said man. We've got these different cultures. Their children are getting married at 15, 16. It says a man, a woman. Adam said she would be called woman, which is wife. How do we then allow these children to get married? They're husband and wife. They don't even understand what it means to become young adults yet. But yet they're taking on a role of marriage. I'm sure they don't understand what the role of a husband is or the role of a wife. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. And we're going to start at verse 1.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Elohim said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim had said, Yea, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Yeah, you shall not surely die. For Elohim does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you was naked? Have you eaten from the tree whereof I commanded you should not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me the tree, and I did eat. And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahweh said unto the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. And it shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow shall you bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you should not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake, and sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life.
So if we go back to verse 16, he says, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of, curses the ground for your sake, and sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life. So he's referring to Adam as the husband. He's referred to her as the wife. And as far as we know, they haven't come together in what we later on find out is what makes a marriage. But they're already being referred to as husband and wife. But there are roles. He just set the role. He shall rule over you. But once again, like stated earlier, we'll take that as a derogatory term, and you tell it to the wrong person, that's how they're going to deal with it.
Well, you know, priest, it was meant to be derogatory at some point, because he said, if you will not serve me, you said we were married. You keep saying that we would, Yahweh said, I am married unto you.
Yes.
He also said, if you will not serve me, you will serve your
enemies
in their land.
Right.
So it's used in a derogatory way, and it's used for punishment.
And we can go back and see that this was stated after they did wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay? And he put it out there, if you don't serve me, then you're going to serve your enemies in your enemy's land. Before that, she was a helpmeet. And being a helpmeet, what happened where was he at that, or where was she at that the serpent was able to get to her without him being around? Was she off doing her own thing? Was he off doing his own thing? Because they obviously weren't together at the point where Lucifer was able to get in.
Right.
But back to what I was saying is that we see there being, the title of husband is being given here. The title of wife is being given here. But they have not come together as yet to form a marriage. So is it just at the point of marriage that the role of husband comes into play and wife comes into play? So what I say, we hear people talking about getting married but don't understand the roles. You've got marriages now. I have somebody that I talk to and has told me point blank, well, I don't tell my wife what to do with her money. She do whatever she want to do, and I don't get involved with that. Okay, so why are y'all together then? Why is there a union if this person do what they want to do with their money and you do what you want to do with your money? At some point, somebody needs to be the financial head, and whoever's the financial head, it's okay for that person to deal with the finances. I said, I've been that idiot where, okay, I'm the man, I take care of all this, and realize after a couple of bills and being late, you know what? This ain't my thing. You do better with that than I do. But we have to understand the strengths and the roles. A lot of us have gotten into marriages and then we're learning the roles. There's a lot of relationships right now where men are fighting for the position to be the husband. And we hear about chaos and mayhem going on in the relationship. And we'll interject and get in and say, put our little 2 cents and don't step back and say, wait a minute. Because anything going on is always the man. Why he got to be so aggressive? Why he got... Let's step back and pause. Is this man fighting for his position? And then there's a situation where the woman is trying to push him to be in that position. But he's not built like that. Adam had to figure this out. When we look at it, Adam had to figure it out. All the other animals had helpmeets way before Adam. So at the point of when he was given a wife, he wasn't used to having no other person around him. He wasn't used to dealing with somebody else. But after a couple of bruises and bumps, and Yahweh jumped in he had to make some decisions and figure some stuff out. But once again, we have the cheat code. And not only do we have control of the cheat code, we have the ability to pass the cheat code on. But the sad thing is that the next generation all feel like, well, you made your mistakes, I got to make mine too. But it don't have to be that severe. There are mistakes that you will make, but there's certain that you don't have to make. Esaac did not have to make the mistake of getting the wrong type of wife and having to deal with that. He allowed for his parents to guide him. This whole generation, this whole society that we've been raised up in has been nothing but detrimental to our culture. And the problem is we never knew we had a culture. So as we're fighting for this culture, we're getting pushback on all ends, from family members outside the house and family members inside the house. And then you got pushback from so-called friends. But we have to fight this fight. Because there's going to be a big mindset change towards the end. And we're going to get there. Where we at now, my brother?
Definition of husband.
Give me the definition for husband, please.
Husband from H376, Ish, contracted from H582, or perhaps rather from an unused root, meaning to be extant. A man as an individual or a male person, often used as an adjunct to a more definite term.
Now, the most important thing here is a man as an individual or a male person. Husband, male person. So with all this same-sex marriage nonsense, how can two women together, one be said as or referred to as a husband? You are not a male. You're not a man. So therefore, how can you take on the role or title of husband? Two men together. I guess they're both husbands. Because when they adopt a child, what the child say, I got two daddies. Go ahead, my brother.
And in such cases frequently not expressed in translation. Also another, any man, a certain, champion, consent.
The bottom line is that it's a man. That's what we need to take away from that. Husband is a man, a male person. Can you give me the definition for our wife there, priest? And the word there, the word, once again, the Hebrew word is ish.
Wife from H802. Nashim.
Mm-hmm.
The first form is the feminine of H376 or H582. The second form is an irregular plural, a woman, used in the same wide sense as H582.
So a woman eventually says every female. So two men together once again. How one of y'all gonna be the wife in the relationship? It says female. Not what you want to identify yourself as. Were you born this way? Then you are not wife. Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 22 says, whoso finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of Yahweh. But do you understand what a wife is? You have to understand what a wife is to understand if you found a good thing. Some people have just found a woman. Not in the sense of when Adam said woman and it meant wife. Or better yet, some people have just found a female. Some women have just found a male. He whosoever finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of Yahweh. Have you allowed Yahweh to guide you in your findings? Or did you go find and tell Yahweh that this is my wife, this is my husband? Do you still think you got his favor? Do you still think you got his blessing? At least what you have found for yourself become a curse unto you and not a favor. Those are things we have to start understanding the role, the position. Grooming our young men and women to have an understanding of the roles and the positions. So maybe their lives can be a bit easier when it comes to marriage than what we've had to deal with in this country, in this place, in this society, with this upbringing. Let's go to Genesis chapter 24, and we're going to start at verse 50. I mean, even though I'm talking about the young people, hey, there's a lot of us that still need to recondition our thought process in our minds when it comes to our role as husband or wife. Understanding the role, not just the title. Genesis chapter 24, and we're going to start at verse 50.
Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing proceeded from Yahweh, and we cannot speak unto you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife.
So the thing proceeded from Yahweh. What did we read earlier? Whoso finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from Yahweh. So he said the thing proceeds from Yahweh. So that means he's going to find favor in Yahweh when he gets this wife. Go ahead.
As Yahweh has spoken. Verse 52, and it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped Yahweh, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things, and they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away unto my master. And her brother and her mother said, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that she shall go. And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing Yahweh had prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will. And they said,
and they said, verse 57, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. That means they're going to have a conversation with her. Okay? And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. That means after this conversation, she understands what is coming, what her role is going to be. And she said, yes, I'm ready to be a wife. I will go. Conversations need to be had. She understands the role she's about to step into. Go ahead.
And they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah, and said unto her, You are our sister. Be you the mother of thousands of millions, and let your seed possess the gate of those which hate them. And Rebekah arose, and her damsel, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah, and went his way. And Esau came from the way of the well, Lahairoi, for he dwelt in the south country. And Esau went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when he saw Esau, he lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walks in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Esau all things that he had done. And Esau brought her into his mother's Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Esau was comforted after his mother's death.
And Esau brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. At this point, she became his wife. Here we get to see wife on another level due to what took place in the tent. When we read about Adam and Eve, they had never come together, but still they were given the title of husband and wife. Now we see it step on a whole new level of husband and wife. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and we're going to begin at verse 27. You know, even when she was leaving, we see that a blessing was placed upon her. I mean, I don't recall any marriages or things that I've been to or ceremonies where the parents bless the daughter or even bless the son. All you hear about is who gives this woman away. I never heard anybody passing a blessing on to the bride and groom. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 27.
Are you bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. But, and if you marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, shall you have trouble in the flesh.
but I spare you. But this I say, brothers, the time is short. It remains that both they that have wives be as though they had none.
Are you bound onto a wife? Not are you bound onto a woman or a female. A wife. Seek not to be loose. Roles. This is supposed to be a good thing. Go ahead.
And they that weep, as though they wept not. And they that rejoice, as though they rejoice not. And they that buy, as though they possess not. And they that use the world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world pass away. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried cares for the things that belongs to Yah, how he may please Yah. But he that is married cares for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares for the things of Yah, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married cares for the things of the world, how she may please her husband.
Now, verse 34, there's a difference also between a wife and a virgin. There's a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares for the things of the Adonai, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married cares for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. This was, we can't even relate to this nowadays. Because unmarried women are the ones running the streets, doing all kinds of debauchery. But there was a time when it said that these unmarried women cared for the things of the Adonai. These were the ones in your church. These was the ones taking care of the things going on for the temple, right alongside the brothers who doing whatever. But now we're inside of a situation where these are the women that's running the streets more than anybody else. And then we find a problem with the married ones who are trying to walk in righteousness. They're juggling two things. Because now you're trying to take care of the things of your husband and take care of the things concerning the Adonai. Go ahead.
You know, I don't want to say this, but
It must be said.
It must be said. You have nowadays, if you listen to the lyrics of these songs in this generation, it could be women that are married, and they at the top of Beyonce, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Say to the left. Everything you own in the box,
Right.
to the left. She's married, but she teach you how.
Right. To be disrespectful, and you will never get into that situation. But see, we don't stop and look at these situations of who are you getting your advice from? Who do you take advice from? Have you ever been married? No. Are you in a relationship right now? No. How the hell are you telling me about marriage and a relationship?
But
Please be gone. Oh, because I went to school and I got a degree. Man, take your degree and go sit on it. I got life lessons. I got experience in this. Now it's up to me whether I'm learning from the experiences or not. But you and your theory can go jump in the lake. That's what we have a lot of, theories. And it's the people who are influencing society the most that people are not stopping and saying, wait a minute. Let me examine what you've got going on first to see if you were any type of authority in this situation. Like people, you got people hang on every word that Steve Harvey say. Excuse me, Steve, get the hell away from me. Cause you the same man that said, don't let morals and principles get in the way of making money. Get away from me. You're an idiot. Because I done seen your past track record. You have nothing to say to me that I'm going to apply to my relationship. But we don't stop and look at that. Like the priest is saying, we have these people in front of us ruining our relationships while they're still maintaining their own. Regardless of how or what they're going through in the relationship, they're still maintaining that relationship.
Preach, during the election, they had a commercial. And the commercial said, they had a married couple on there, and they was at the voting booth. And there was I guess they went into the voting booth with a plan.
Husband and wife.
But the husband ain't know that the wife had a different plan. But she came out and said, he asked the question, did you vote the right way?
Mm-hmm.
I guess they must have had a conversation. She said, yeah. But obviously it was to attack marriage.
Right.
Because it caused so much division inside of the marriage when you come up with a plan and then because of whatever situation, may it be politics or whatever, you make decisions without that other person, then you're not married. That's not a marriage. That's just you just with that person.
You might as well be individuals.
Yeah, you're
so what you're talking about was the Kamala Harris commercial.
Yeah.
Where the Gentile man and woman went in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I saw the commercial, I said, y'all messing with Gentiles. You messing with the wrong folks. You trying to think or have us believe that this Gentile woman went in the voting booth and voted against the house that she lives in? But that was to make us feel comfortable to say, well, the Gentiles are doing it, we can do it too. Mm-hmm. But it all backfired. Because once I saw it, I said, oh, no, this is dirty. You playing a dirty game. But that's what's fed to us, the stuff to tear our houses apart. I could listen to something earlier. What they say, you don't have a man in the house and we can get you on Section 8. But what does that push at? Our people. You mean this is the only way that I can get a perk from you? How about you keep your perks? Because then all that does is now put us under a microscope. You mean you can show up whenever you want to see if there's a man in this house? Man, I don't want to live like that. Keep your perks. But it's constantly something to disrespect our households once again because we don't understand the roles.
We don't see the value in it, Pre. We don't see the value in it, so then we sell it for the Section 8. We sell it for the lentils. We do it for the little nothing now. We do it for the gram.
Hey man, we're doing it for the likes now.
Right, the gram and the likes. Yeah.
We will actually get on social media and be disrespectful just for some likes. It makes no sense. Just for some likes, you will ruin your relationship. You will ruin your family just for some likes.
There's value in them likes. You get paid off of monetizing you. The disrespect.
Man, some of them people fighting to get to monetization.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them people are not even there yet. You have torn your whole house up just on the way to getting money. You ain't get it yet. On the way to getting money. Was that, did we finish that?
No, verse 35. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that you may attend upon Yahweh without distraction. But if any man think that he behaves himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will. He sins not. Let them marry.
Now, it says, what verse are we at?
We're at verse 36.
Verse 36. But if any man thinks that he behaves himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will. He sins not, let him marry. Right? Earlier it said there's a difference between the virgin and a wife. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's a man who has a virgin. How do you have a virgin, but yet they're not married? These are two people who have decided that they're still going to be together, but the marriage is not the all be all. So now at some point, she's saying, okay, I'd like to have children before I can't have children. So it's saying, okay, at this point, don't act uncomely toward his virgin. Go ahead and get married. That's another thing we don't look at. Husband and wife role. Two people can be together. Help meet. We saw that with Adam and Eve. They were together, but they never came together. But that's far-fetched for us. Society would have done put, man, you mean you with her, you ain't done that. You mean he with you, boy, something must be wrong with y'all. But this society has got us to where we fiend for flesh. The lust is unsatiable. That we cannot see certain things as being possible. If we hear it, they must be strange. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, he that stands steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but has the power over his own will, and has so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, does well.
The power has power over his own will. Something most of us lack, willpower. Because what? We let society get into our heads. The worst thing is now is that we've got these devices that are with us 24/7, and we're locked in and we're glued in. It was different when you had your friends, we hung out. When I went home, I'm home, you home, I'll see you tomorrow. Don't call my house after 10 o'clock. We talk tomorrow. Now we have 24/7 access to each other, to other peoples, to other cultures, to other societies that's constantly feeding us. And that feeding is therefore then weakening our own willpower. Go ahead.
Verse 38. So then he that gives her in marriage does well, but he that gives her not in marriage does better. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband lives, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the adne.
The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband lives. But if her husband be dead, she's at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Adonai. I want us all to keep that one in mind right there. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband lives. Okay? As long as her husband lives. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 12 through 14.
Go and proclaim these words towards the north, and say, Return, you backsliding Israel, says Yahweh, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, says Yah, and I will not keep anger for forever. Only acknowledge your lawlessness, that you have transgressed against Yahweh your Elohim, and have scattered your ways to the strangers under every green tree, and have not obeyed my voice, said Yah. Turn, O backsliding children, says Yah, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city, and two of a family, and will bring you to Zion.
Verse 14, turn, O backsliding children, says Yahweh, for I am married unto you, and I'll take you one of a city and two of a family, and I'll bring you to Zion. Let's jump to Jeremiah chapter 31. Jeremiah chapter 31, and we're going to read verses 31 through 33.
Behold, the days come, says Yah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, says Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, said Yah, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their El, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yah.
All right, that's it. So Yahweh says, although I wasn't husband unto them, says Yahweh. All right, Hosea chapter 2 and verse 16 says, And it shall be at that day, says Yahweh, that you shall call me Ishai, husband, and shall call me no more Baali. Back to Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 12 through 14, it says, For I am married unto you, right? Mm-hmm. What we read. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives. When did our husband die? See the great transgression that we've been in? See why we got to understand the role of husband and wife? We got a lot that we got to fix. He just said we've been calling him out his name because we haven't been looking at the role that we've been in. As men, yeah, we husbands in our household. But when it comes to our Elohim, we his wives. So guess what? We're going to have to figure out how to play that role. What it says, the married wife does what? Cares about the things of her husband. Mm-hmm. We got some things to consider, Israel. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Shalom, family.
Shalom.